The Art of Yes. Interview with Inbal Lori. Hello, Inbal.
Hey Monica, where are you?
I'm sitting in the meadow.
In the meadow? I'm in the crazy house place.
Oh,
I'm in the gigantic crazy house place. Come meet me in the gigantic house place, okay? See you there. Whoa! Wait, no! I'm on a dish. Where are you now?
I'm in the garden.
Oh, you switched from the meadow to the garden? That's nice.
Yeah. I couldn't find the cows.
Listen, I'm in a weird dish. I think I'm gonna be served as a schnitzel. I have to get out of here. Meet me at the zoo, okay? Go to the zoo.
Yeah.
Ah! Where are you? You're at the zoo. Oh no.
Savannah. I'm in the savannah. It's elephant next to me.
Look what I have next to me. Damn. Okay, let's try to meet at I don't know, just pick a place. Just go somewhere. Oh, it's me with Tim Orr.
Oh, I can prepare some clothes for you now.
We're getting close. I'm in a living room. At least we're in human places now again. Okay, listen.
Oh no, I have a Genesis concert behind me.
Genesis concert?
Oh,
I have a gigantic dog. I think he's a fascist. He has missiles and helicopters.
Oh no. Wait. I choose randomly.
Okay.
Oh no, it's so cold here.
No, get out of there. Get out of there. Listen to me, Monica.
Yeah.
Let's meet in the futuristic room.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
thank God. Oh, that was exhausting.
So tired.
Me too. So many things happened.
Yeah. Good to see you. Yeah.
Oh, beverage?
My cup is disappearing.
How's it going?
How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to have you as my guest, my next interview. Yeah. How are you?
I am good. I am, trying to, there's a lot of uncertainty around us.
Yeah.
Especially around the arts, but also around humanity as a whole. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to keep busy, and I'm trying to keep not too much, not to give in to fear too much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But overall, I'm good because I think being at home is good for me. Mm-hmm. It's good to me. I'm enjoying it a lot, in other words. I enjoy being in Berlin at home, and so this
do you work a lot now online or how?
Yes. I became a full-time teacher. Mm-hmm. I haven't done any shows in this Corona thingy because I find it a little bit weird. But I've been teaching a lot, and I have to say that I've had a great pleasure. I also started to teach in the last month and a half, since the regulations here in Germany are a little bit more open and some more things became legal again. So I'm teaching also people in person. Mm-hmm. But the online thing was great. In the beginning, it was like 1 hour and a half was so exhausting and weird. But then now I feel that an hour and a half is not enough. And also, there's so many things. I mean, it's fun. I have to say that it's fun. Yeah. And you don't have to commute, which is great.
Yeah, and lose the time for traveling and commuting, yeah.
And pollute the earth also.
True.
So I'm also saying this to myself. Oh, it's better because, it's more environmental. Mm-hmm.
So what do you find good and fun in this situation? Because to me, it's really nice to explore new possibilities. So it's for you.
I mean, I just think that there were a lot of things that, a lot of games that I just, me and a lot of other people moved from real life to the Zoom. Mm-hmm. But basically, I think it's for me, it's two things. It's one is like, okay, we don't have a stage. We don't have this third dimensional place that I love so much and that is my life, because I read something that Jim Libby wrote. He said, it's the longest time in my life since I'm a professional performer that I'm without the stage. And for me too. I mean, I think that for 23 years, I have not had such a huge break from the stage. And I miss it and I love it. Yeah, but you go like, okay, so we don't have the 3-dimensional place right now. So we have a 2-dimensional place and we have a camera. So let's try to use that to explore improvisation in front of a camera in a 2-dimensional space. And I think that if you decided to do that for a while, in order to try certain tools and in order to try certain things, because you understand it's I mean, you hold the hope that life is not going to look like that until the end. But you know, this is just another tool and another thing that you can explore. Then that's great, because then you're playing to the camera. People are very more aware of how much they do, what they do, how does it look? Because, you know, a lot of times you feel like you're doing a lot, but you're actually doing too little, or you think that you're doing too little, but you're doing too much. So it's very good for them, I think, to get this reference, for all of us, for me too, I think. And the other thing is, and I've said that a few times already, improvisers are better listeners on Zoom because they're very focused. They have to listen. They cannot overlap. You know, they have to wait for a sentence to end in order to start. And so I think it's really good for my students. I feel this focus is very good for them. So yeah, but then hopefully sometime we'll be able to go back to stage, and yeah, that's fun too.
That's true. Do you think this will influence our work, except what you have said now, in the future? Because
yes,
I thought already that, you know, this can be transferred on the stage at some point and in some ways later on when we come back to the stage. So do you think it will influence this?
You mean if this is going to leak to the stage?
In some way?
That is interesting. I mean, for sure, technology is going to collide a lot with all the stage performances now. I mean, rock concert has been doing it for years, and also some theater pieces have, but maybe it will happen for improv too. But basically, I think that there will be a lot of things will move online. For example, I'm teaching a lot in North America right now, and we're having a great fun, and it is so much easier, you know, to do it right now. So I think a lot of the traveling that we've done so far, some of it might move online, especially for distance communities or communities that cannot afford to bring people and fly them over and stuff like that. And the other thing is, I think that there will be more and more events that are happening virtually, that are being broadcast internationally, that more people can enjoy them. But I'm not sure that Zoom is the technology. I think that it needs better technologies, like with cameras and green screens and professional stuff, that for events, for companies, for shows. Theater's going to move. We're going to see a lot of theater moving into like virtual spaces that is being broadcast as a theatrical piece without the theater. And is it theater? Gonna be interesting. Gonna be interesting. I will say, however, about the classes, that there's a lot of talk about diversity right now, right, in improvisation, and why is the white middle class doing improvisation all the time. But thanks to the online, my classes are way more diverse than ever. I mean, I teach a class now and I have a couple of guys from North America, a wonderful improviser from Bangalore, people from Europe. So it's like, you know, a mix of colors and genders also, and sexual preferences. And it's great. Yeah. It's really great.
That's true. It opened some doors which were closed till now, right? So
yeah.
It's great. I agree. Well, I have some questions to you, but I really like to ask about the beginning. And I know that some people are asked all the time, but for me and for many people, it's sometimes like we talk about, you know, workshops and daily stuff and what's going on, but we don't know the background of the teacher. So I would just start with that. Because you are from Israel, but you live in Berlin. So I'm interested, how did you start it? Because I know that acting is a big part of your education as well. So if you could touch that and just go how you transferred to Europe and why.
Yeah, okay. I was just telling you before that I was like talking about it for long. a lot lately. So I'm like, so I'll do it as briefly as I can. So I was studying acting in Jerusalem for 3 years, and then moved to Tel Aviv right after that, found an improvisation group. And since then, it was 2001, I'm doing improvisation. But it was always a part of what I did as an actress, and also later on also as a writer. So I was writing for a living. I was acting, scripted stuff, theater, sketch comedy, and I was doing improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2015, I think, I decided to travel a little bit just for fun. And the minute I went out of Israel for 7 months of like, just like see, hang around, whatever, travel, a lot of improv jobs started to come and request to be in all kinds of places, especially around Europe. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, wait, hang on, I can actually move to Berlin because I had a lot of connections thanks to the Gorillas and the wonderful people in the Ratibor Theater and a lot of good friends already. And I can actually work there, so be based there, have an artist visa there, because it's not super hard to get an artist visa, especially as an Israeli in Berlin. And I could show that I have recommendations for a job, and then I could just try to make my living 100% out of improv and traveling. Mm-hmm. And that worked wonderfully. And then Corona happened.
Oh.
Yeah. So the whole traveling thing is now, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not saying it's the end of it or anything like that. But then in the last 5 years, I'm doing, a lot of mostly improv and traveling a lot and teaching and performing. That was great. It was great. It's still great. It's great.
So tell me one more thing, or maybe two.
Okay.
One is how, so was improv part of your education?
No, not as we do it. We had a teacher.
How did you find that this switch to improv? Because in the acting schools, sometimes people have it, but it's very different kind of improvisation, right?
Yeah, we had an acting teacher who'd like to improvise with us. It was actually one of my favorite teachers, but it would be like, go on stage, do whatever it is you want. And for a lot of people, it was a very frustrating idea because there's no rules. There's no limitations. There's no tools. So people just like basically go clusterfuck, doing all that. Like, I mean, for improvisers, I think to watch the scenes that we did then would be like a torture, and also very funny. Because I think we did mistakes that today, knowing what I know about improv, I couldn't possibly play those incredibly crazy scenes that I did back then because I have too much discipline. Yeah. But right after I finished acting school, as I said, I joined this group, and these guys were already training according to Kit Johnston's book, Impro. Mm-hmm. And we were called Lama Alpaca, and there were some great improvisers like Amitai Milo and Yuval Cohen from Israel, which were like, Amitai Milo especially he's an autodidact kind of guy. So he was teaching himself, and there was no internet back then. There was, but not as much as today. So it was kind of like an isolated experience, but nevertheless, picking up what we could try, bringing it to the rehearsal, breaking it, fucking it up completely, thinking we understood it, finding something else. And I think that this whole idea of experimenting with those tools by ourselves and having absolutely no connection to the outside world, and I mean no connection, except with a book and some stuff, made a lot of mistakes, but also made us learn from our mistakes. And in a way also made us develop kind of like our own thing. And so as a structure, as a basis of improvisation, I think that was super valuable for us because everybody who's in this group are very rooted in improvisation because of that exploration of a few years, which were until we started to travel and then see other things, and then there was another leap.
Because did somebody brought improv into Israel, or?
It's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know how I don't know how that happened. I know that there were a few groups doing it before us. Mm-hmm. And they also had like this, they knew the ideas of yes. And I think they also knew the Kit Johnstonish kind of, I'm not sure who was the first one who actually imported it or came back with that idea. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. mean, I'm sure it's not going to be so hard to go to find it because everything is, but Israel is not big. So nothing in Israel is too big except for high tech, but, and the military industry. But I think the scene in Israel grew relatively as the scenes in the rest of the world grew. So we're talking about the last 10 years. And I think we can thank Mark Zuckerberg for that, at least, because I think that with that, I just had a conversation with my boyfriend the other day, and he was like, "Oh, Facebook is bullshit." And I was like, Facebook is one of the main reasons that I could have had the job that I had.
Yeah.
Because without Facebook and without us having this micro community of improvisers and knowing and informing and connecting, it would be hard to travel, you know, it didn't exist. So Facebook is kind of like responsible for this. We have to give them the credit when I think they deserve it. Other things, no. So I think the Israeli scene also grew. And I think now it's not big because nothing is big, but it's definitely more developed. Yeah. And the thing is, I don't know if that's what you meant, but there's a lot of professional actors in Israel that are doing a lot. There's like professional actors that do improv in Israel. And I think that helps to also push and show options. And yeah.
Thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome. I hope it's interesting. I don't know.
It is. So tell me, what was for you the most challenging, difficult thing in improv?
I just want to say that every time that you move your eyes like this or like this, you get a little of virtual background. I love it. Could you see it?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Ooh.
I love it a lot. What was the most challenging
thing in improv?
I want to say group dynamics. I want to say that having to like, to have when I was in groups, having the group dynamic was one of the most exhausting things for me. And you know, the politics and the who says what and who does this and and how do we organize that? That was terrible. But that happens in every group of people, I think, who work together. And I don't blame anybody but myself. It's my thing. And the other thing, what was the? Yeah, there was. I wasn't a good listener. I think that maybe, and some people will argue that I'm still not. But I think that my brain is running so fast, and I have so many ideas. And a lot of times I would just know exactly what needs to happen, whether I was right or not. That's not the question, but I would think that I know what needs to happen. And I would go like, okay, let's do this. And since I'm also, I think, kind of energetic, so a lot of time I could just take the other person and take them there. And so now I would do it, and I would be just like maybe controlling the shows too much, but still listening. But I think that in the past, I wasn't really listening. I wasn't really incorporating or building from the person's idea as I do now. Because once you understand that, then improv becomes kind of easy or easier. Because then you understand that you don't have to work so hard, and you just need to react, and then you don't have to invent and plan and do everything by yourself in your head, and you're trusting more the moment. But in the beginning, I think, maybe listening was maybe also statuses. I was also always with groups of men. They were never, I mean, when we started, I was the only professional woman improviser for a long time. So always with groups of men. Also when I was doing sketch comedy, only with men. And so the status thing was always an issue. It's like, because there's like, I'm not gonna be the lower status. No fucking way. No, 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 no. And then later on, I mean, I think when you know how to handle low status, then it's okay. But in the beginning, it was like, no fucking way, never give up. But yeah, so that's also something.
Mm-hmm. I like to ask my guests for epiphanies, improv epiphanies. So it means what was the moment of where you said like, oh, like for example listening, you know, that's important thing, or something like that. What was something what gave you the biggest impact?
There were a few, but the first one that comes to mind now was was the first time we traveled out of our island, because we talked about before about how Israel is an island, right? It's like we cannot really, as Israelis, travel by train anywhere. By car also, it's like, you know, dodgy sometimes. So we're like very isolated, and before internet even more. But then I think it was 2007, we were invited to the Amsterdam Festival, and we wanted to come and perform our long form. And we went into this like exhausting rehearsal period of like preparing the long form. We had a format, and it didn't work, and it didn't work, and it didn't work, and it didn't work. And I actually started smoking again after one rehearsal. I was so fucking depressed from this. I also broke up with my boyfriend at the same time, so it's a little bit like that. But I came to my friend's house. She had some tobacco, and I just rolled a cigarette, and I started smoking again because I was like, this is not working. And we couldn't tell what it was. And then we went to Amsterdam Festival, and they invited us just to see an open show before the festival started. It was like just a show of some Amsterdam people improvising in Dutch. We didn't understand, like, and I remember I was stoned, of course, because it's Amsterdam. And I remember sitting in the audience, and then poof, like this understanding fell on me. And I was like, we just need to slow down. We're doing everything perfectly okay. We just need to slow down. You know, seeing all of a sudden those European rhythm, they always have time. They're so relaxed. They take their time, you know, and we're like, Middle Easterns, we're gonna die tomorrow. I have to say the sentence because the bomb is on the way. We're all gonna die. We're all gonna die. Let's do the show, man. And it's like, no, just slow the fuck down. Go from like the 5th gear to the 2nd gear. And instead of going 320, go 50, go 30. Things will still happen. And in fact, you will be more interesting, not less interesting, because the audience can actually follow what you're going through. Right? And you know, just becoming this joke machine. Or like, so for me, that was a huge understanding. And when I understood that, I think it really changed. And I'm still fast. I'm still Middle Eastern in my rhythm, right? But in a more, let's say, in a more, I don't know how you say that word in English, skilled way. So I know how to use the rhythm, the fast paced when I need it, right? But then I could choose the levels maybe, so like that. But still, for some people, I'm too fast. For some people, it's too whatever, right?
Yeah, but
you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
Exactly. That's the different
or juice.
Of the talk. So what did you get any note from like teachers or somebody which was also some kind of important, which gives you also another push or development moment that you found really important?
Well, I think the biggest thing that happened was my meeting with Tim Orr. Because again, Amsterdam and Berlin are key cities in my development as an improviser, and also they're both cities with improv community, which I really, really love, and I really have a lot of people who are close to my heart. So Rod Ben Ze'ev, a friend of mine, said to me and Muli, he is my duo partner in Israel, that Tim Orr is doing a long form workshop and we have to take it. Mm-hmm. There is no question if we're going to take it or not. We have to take it. And we didn't know who Tim was. And we're like, okay, if you say we have to take it, we'll take it. He really insisted. It's like, you have to go. It's like, okay, if we really have to, we really have to. We went. And I think for me, that workshop was another epiphany too. Like so many coins, so many understanding of the possibilities of long form and what you could do and what. But then me and Tim became very good friends. And Tim recommended me and Muli to the Out of Bound festival in Austin, just by meeting us for a few days, which was a very good boost of, confidence. And then Tim and I became friends, and then later on our duo show clicked. So I think Tim has also a lot of what Tim was teaching me is what is my preference as an improviser. So yeah, what I was saying is that Tim Orr has definitely a huge impact on my improvisation development, because I think he's the only teacher I actually learned workshop with, except for our self-education. As I said, like the person who was the main vein of information and of source for me was Tim. And I love his style. I love the way he teaches, inspired me so much. I mean, I think maybe we're the only impro teach. I don't know if we're the only ones, but we're both teaching with a timer and a whistle. It's like, because he used to be a sport coach, and I used to be a drill sergeant in the Israeli army. So we're both like, discipline, boom, ching. And I love his style. I love everything that he says. All the exercises that he gives are things that I go like, I want to play that. Mm-hmm. I want to play this. And then also performing with him was such a school, Yeah. So and his vote of confidence of wanting to do the show with me and, meeting me and knowing pretty much from the beginning that, okay, this one I like, this one I want to do stuff with. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was like huge what I have from him. And now he's stuck in San Francisco and we can't meet.
Yeah, and you play duo together.
Yes, click.
So there was a note you got from him, or was just like in general the workshop which gave you something?
I think from Tim, the main thing I got is like, you don't have to be in a conflict with your partner. And in fact, if you will not be in a conflict with your partner, you'd earn much more. Mm-hmm. Especially in the beginning of a show or a long form. But overall, if you're just going to go up there and fight, then maybe find something better to do. So yeah, that was a huge. And also he taught me to do less and to slow down. Mm-hmm. So that was also things that repeated with him. So
yeah. I talked to some other people, and also the slowing down thing is really important.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
Time also for reaction, because if we run too quickly, we can't react because it's too late. Like yeah,
it's crazy, right? Sometimes I think groups want you to go, why don't you do this topic and this topic and this topic? You're like, sure. And then you come to the coaching and you go like, wait. Before we do any of that, we need to create moments. We need to slow down. We need to see that you're actually listening to each other. And then it's just like going back to the basics. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of times groups think that, we're not doing that anymore. We're like this, we're doing long form, we're doing that. And they go like, but who doesn't need to slow down? No, actually they are too. Even the Germans need to slow down. Mm-hmm. and they are slow. I mean, the rhythm here is so different than what I'm used to. But yeah.
As you live in Germany and you travel a lot, and I know this feeling because I also do improv abroad, how is it to play in English or German? Do you play in German?
Very seldom, but yes, and usually for the fun of it. How is it to play in English?
How is it to play in your not native language, and what challenges you meet? What's good and what's not good about it?
Basically, I enjoy myself a lot, and I'm very lucky because I had a really good perception. Mm-hmm. like I hear English since I'm a child, because in Israel, all the shows come from mostly English speaking content, which is subtitled to Hebrew. So as a child, you hear it and you read the Hebrew, hear it. And so if you have a little bit of a ear for languages, then you get it. So since I was a child, I had a very, very good English. And so for me, performing in English was a very natural thing. And in the beginning, though, I found out that I cannot react as fast as I wanted, speaking of rhythm, and that I cannot I cannot respond verbally. And that made me respond emotionally. And that was a very good thing for me. So they would say something and I wouldn't know what to do. So my character would just start to cry. So that was the first thing I tried. Just cry. Just doesn't matter. Cry. He'll justify it later, right? And then other ways of reacting. And I say that to my students, especially when I was just teaching in France now. And for a lot of them, the English was a huge challenge. And I go like, yes, it's a challenge, but it's also a gift. Because if I'd let you do that scene in French, it would be like, blah, 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 and no moments, not at all. And here they have to concentrate on what they say in every sentence, keeps them grounded. They have to pick the words. They have to be economic about how they use the language. And it's actually a gift, because then you start to act more.
Yeah.
Rather than just like reporting. We talked a lot about the difference between a report and an experience. And I think a lot of us in our native mother tongue, we go like, we report. We say, we don't show, we say, right? And then it becomes like a transcript, which you could just sit at home and read. But the richer opportunity is to give an experience to people, right? Which maybe has less words. But people are going through something. You, your partner, the audience, there's like something that they go through.
So how writing and screenwriting, like writing the story, helped you with improv?
Incredibly helped. Incredibly. And I always recommend to my students to, for example, 3 platform scenes. I was just telling that to Amy Schutz also, we were talking about it, that like when I teach platform, I'm like, who, where, what? What's the big deal? Who, where, what? In 3 sentences. What's the big deal in like creating who, where, what? And years after years, like my students find it to be a brain fuck. And they suffered. I was like, nah, this is good for you. You have to do it. And I still think it's good for them. And I still think they have to do it. Because when you need to do that, that's the best thing you can do for a scene. Just like, who are we? Where are we? What are we doing? And what are we doing is not what the problem of the scene is. Just like, what is it that we're doing right now? And it was also like a little bit a mini epiphany when I was like, yeah, but Inbal, you write. So you know how to introduce the vital information for the scene through the scene and the characters. That's what you do. You would take a page and you would have certain informations that you'd like to have in it. And you would know how to play with the words and with the sentences so that it will come out. When to drop the right word, right? And so I think for improvisers, I always go like, train 3 platform sentences at home by writing. A, B, A. What does A say? What does B say? What does A say? And then I also have this exercise that also on Zoom, because, you know, writing and acting to the camera, it's like, it's so easy. So we had this exercise that one person would write 3 sentences scene and then boom, give it to a couple to play. And then they try to execute it as best as they can. And then they can get an immediate response. Was it too much? Was it clear? Was it something that they read and they go like, yeah, I can do this? Or was it 3 sentences platform that they went like, not sure, okay, I will make up stuff, you know? So it's a great exercise, right? It's a great skill.
Story, yeah. How knowing about story building influences improv?
I find it very difficult to answer because I feel like I am also struggling with long length stories, especially, yeah. I mean, for me, it's always a mystery what makes a good story, and how do we, how do we as storytellers tell us a good story, which the audience find entertaining, funny, touching, or whatever, or all of the above, but at the same time, it's also, we surprise ourselves. So, you know, we don't go like, storytelling, I heard this schematic thing. Now this needs to happen, and now this needs to happen, and now this needs to happen in order for this to happen. And a lot of it is also this like Hollywood kind of narrative that we can, I think, all very tired of. And so how do you do that and keep fresh and surprising and not trying to become, as I call it, a slave to the narrative?
Yeah, I totally
I know that one. I know that when groups they go like, oh, we know the format, this needs to happen, this needs to happen. And now they're rushing to get to it and they're not enjoying the moments around it. This I know. But I'm not sure about what is forgetting about the storytelling is like, yeah, maybe when people don't accumulate what they've created and they're only driving forward and they're never looking in the back in the review mirror to see, okay, what have we had? Which is one of the, I think, most valuable things in improvisation. It's like you create, you drive, but then there's the review mirror and you have to go like, if you want to know how to go move on, you need to know what you already had. Yeah. And I think a lot of people say things and they don't remember that they introduced those elements to the scene, and then they just try to create new shit in order to move on rather than incorporate the shit that not shit, but stuff that they've already created. And I think also this is one of the places where impro and improvisers really need to get their shit together. And I will explain. Because a lot of times we like to say, oh, people are not respecting improvisation as much as they expect theater, or they think that everything else is better and impro is just like this amateur stuff. And I go like, fuck yeah. I mean, there is no art form that introduces information and then forgets 5 minutes later that this information was introduced into the scene and goes somewhere else to explore. You know, I call it like that cat that is like, that sees the laser, you know, how the cats are like,
yeah.
like this. Sometimes some improvisers improvise like this, right? 5 minutes ago, somebody said something about go visit grandma. And all of a sudden the scene is about you never took the garbage. And we forget grandma. And there is no art form. This is a crime. This is actually a crime. Because every other art will go like, okay, so let's cut the grandpa and grandma visiting out, right? Let's not use it, because why do we have it in the first place? But in improvisation, it happens a lot of time that you start somewhere, you finish somewhere completely else, and the audience is like, but everybody has a little bit of like a, you know, what happened, right? And it happens to all of us at one point or another. I'm not saying I'm not doing it in any way. It happens to all of us. But I think our job, if we want to be taken seriously, is one of them is to minimize the amount of stuff that we say and then are not accountable for. I make it sound very, but we're accountable. We made a promise to the audience. We introduced something. If we're not going to cash it, we broke the deal. So what's the deal between us and the audience? What's happening? Why are we doing it? Why are they watching it?
Yeah. That's true. Maybe because they want to see something funny.
but okay, sure. But a good comedy. Every comedy that you see, does it start here and then go there and then this and then let's just go everywhere? When things are completely absurd and they're not connected, it's hard for us to enjoy it. So if you think that it's just like one frequency where we like enjoy the jokes on the frequency and just like every once in a while there's a punchline and it's like, okay, we're just following the punchline. If people find this entertaining, go for it. Great. Enjoy it. Personally, it's not what I would enjoy watching, and it's not what I would enjoy doing. Because I think the audience deserves a little bit more than that. They deserve a context. They deserve some sort of why. A why.
I would say also story, because if you watch a comedy, there is a story in it. It's not a comedy because it's funny, because there are jokes and punchlines. It's a story in between of human being also in the truth situations or truthful situations where they experience something. And
Yeah, it's a good way to call it. Just overall, what's the story? It's true, because then we remember that the story needs to begin somewhere, it needs to end something somewhere, and everything that happens in the middle matters to the story, right? So yeah, maybe just like, but then story also makes people slaves to a story. So this is also what I'm going like, what is a story in improvisation? It's an interesting question.
yeah, I think this is. Inbal, let's go to duos. You play few duos. You play with Tim, you play with Lee, and you play with Zaki, right?
And with Paula Galimberti too, the Spanish.
Okay, so it's pretty few. What the duo work gives you?
Everything. No, but as I said, like sometimes big casts are wonderful, especially when people are like knowing what they're doing. It's amazing.
Mhm.
And then, but duo is like, it just keeps you heads on. You're always busy. You're always doing. You're always into it. And that's also the challenge. There's like, you don't have that moment of going outside and thinking so much.
Mhm.
So that's the ups and downs of it. But it really like, you don't get cold. You're just like into it all the time.
Mhm. Mhm. So going from that, I wanted to ask you about the duo with Zaki, because it's pretty special.
Yeah.
What's special about it? Can you tell me?
So what's happening with Zaki, which is funny because I meet him on Zoom also after that, is that Zaki is an Arab improviser, and he comes from a country which we cannot reveal the name because for him it is illegal to do a show with an Israeli.
Mm.
Because in his country, he has a country, so there's a, it's illegal by law to cooperate with Israelis. So so this is a very hushed show, in a way, a very political show, even if we're not doing anything political on the stage. Just the fact that the two of us are on stage sharing time is already a political thing. Yeah. And yeah.
So why you do it? Like, I know you do it because of improvisation, but what brought you together, and what's the challenge you have to face doing this, and what's the biggest gift you have from playing, especially this duo?
We came together because of Tim Orr in Amsterdam. Again, things are coming back because Tim was teaching his group and mine, and he always said, "Yeah, you have to meet." And Zaki was always like, "No, it's impossible. It's impossible." But then Europe, Europe made it possible. And then we met and we clicked immediately, and we decided we should do it just because we should.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think we found out that we have so many similarities in terms of rhythm and imagination and humor. Our humor is very similar. And so it was a gift. The difficulties. Mm, I don't think
Do
we
you
had any
both
specific.
speak any which language you play together?
English. Yes, a
English.
very good English too.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't think of like not any particular difficulties from this particular setting, just I don't think, I mean, I have a very bad memory. Uh, yeah, so we did that. And the fun of it is that I think it gave me some of the more powerful, blood freezing, emotional scenes that I've ever done within a comedy show. So I don't think that Zaki and I are not trying to go like we're going to create anything that is other than comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It is improvisation for us, is comedy for us. And so we're trying to create a comedy show which is satiric or thought evoking or also touching. But basically, so it's really interesting because sometimes the shows would be less more, let's say, dramatic or touching and less funny. Sometimes we will be very funny and we went like, but where was the heart of the show?
Mm-hmm.
And so to get to this like time where the components of the heart and the funny are exactly as we like it, this is, here's the difficulty. This is the challenge. Yes, yes. This is the difficulty, because we want it to be very much from our heart, and we want to talk very much about topics that touches us, that are unnerving us, that we care about, that are important to us, that we'd like to talk about, because we would like to talk about so many things that are insane coming from our area. And today I have to say all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, there is no area which like, oh, this is the problematic part of the world. No, all the worlds are problematic. Humans are fucking problematic. So as humans, there's a lot of things that we would like to reflect about the stupidity and the absurdity, and but also the beauty and the pain and love in our society. And so it's really challenging to find how to do that in an improvised comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Because to write satiric sketches, I've done that for many years, and I've enjoyed it for many years, and I was very skilled. And then of course it helped me here a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But to improvise something that has the right component, when you know when, okay, now would be a perfect time for a joke, and now no joke at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going for the heart, we're going for the pain. It's a big challenge, which I love.
Do you find difficult if you have a show and there is this like very serious situation, emotions and stuff? Do you find this challenging to find the balance in humor in that, or it comes because of improvisation? You know what I mean? Like if we have very emotional show, but there is some kind of release needed. So do you find it difficult to find these moments of release? Or opposite way around, in comedy, do you find difficult to find these moments of seriousness or being more emotional and not that funny?
I think I think for me personally, if a show goes very dramatic or very touching or very, like, let's say, heavy in the feeling, then to find a moment of like comic relief is the easier task for me personally as an improviser, because I would go like, ooh, we're sucked in that thing. Why don't I have the next scene or the next beat be a little bit lighter, comedy, blah, blah, blah. But to be in a show which is dictated by tack, 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 and then to go, okay, let's break that and do something which is like a little bit more to the heart. I think for me, this is the bigger challenge, because it's easy to go like from, oh, let's shake this happiness and do this, rather than like noticing that you do this and go like, wait, let's take a breath. Let's, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but it is possible. I think that in Brussels, we had a show that was very, very funny and not a lot of painful scenes. Sometimes we could have, but then I think we caught ourselves, and the last one was terrible. It was a terrible scene. It was a beautiful scene, but it was a terrible scene. I have like goosebumps, you know, every time I think about it, because it was everything that because we know, Zaki and I, when we meet, we talk, because there's so much we want to talk about. And I ask him, well, you, and he asks me, and then we go like, what? You think that? That's insane. And he goes like, yeah, but you did that. And I was like, yeah, but you started with that. Whatever, right? So we talk a lot. And then there's this like moment where our whole conversation just like accumulates into a scene, just like metamorphosing into a scene. And so if I would say a sentence, he would know that I mean that, and he would tap into that. And so this is like, and when this happens, it's like, it could be sad, because all of a sudden our pain talks.
Mm-hmm.
When our pain talks, it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we have pain, not necessarily personal, but personal from our area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does that experience changed you and as a teacher as well? Because you have the workshop which is called Playing Politics. Does it come from that experience, from that
Yes.
particular show? So what do you teach in this workshop? What people can get out of it?
It's a workshop that me and Zaki developed together. after doing the show and going like, wait, we can fragment it because there's some stuff that we learned, but we always say in the beginning, it's a work in progress. We don't know enough. We want to introduce tools. We want people to take them and we want them to start using them and try to find out what it is. But so basically, what it changed in my perception is that, God damn it, why don't we treat impro more like an effective tool as an effective performance or arts tool to criticize society or to tell a story about society, about humanity, about politics, about all those things. Why do we do what I call like generic scene about doctor and patient when we can like reflect reality and this, what we talked about before, about the problematic situation that humanity is in right now. And we have to do those like escapistic scenes about other things that are like, you know, why not use what we feel, what we think, what we see, what we read into the stage? And I think the show with Zaki really gave me this like, no, it's doable. We can do that and we should. Not 100% of the time, but it's definitely should be more of a tendency than it is right now in the world, in the improvisation world, right? And so we fragmented this thing, and I think what we teach people is basically to bring topics like that. Mm-hmm. So not to shy away from them, but to go like, I want to talk about social injustice and I want to do it in the scene. And then we teach them two things. One is that play also people who are different than you. So for example, I always give this example. If I have to play a Nazi, it makes no sense for me to play a caricature of a Nazi, because what happens then, in a very funny way, the audience thinks that I'm enjoying playing the Nazi. Mm-hmm. And then they identify me more with the Nazi than if I would just play a character of a Nazi in the most committed way. And then the audience would make an assumption, okay, it's a character. It's not Inbal. She's playing a character. Of course, she can't be a Nazi because she's a Jew, but who knows what kind of mutants are performing in the world today. But it's not her, she's playing a character, right? And so they make this cut. But if you do halfway, if you're like, do it, but you're kind of like enjoying, the audience goes like, is she having fun? Does she think it's a joke? Yeah. You know? Mm-hmm. So play the other very, and another thing we choose is don't be educational. And I think this is the tricky thing. Don't go like, Nazism is bad. You should stay away out of fascism because look what happened. You know, if you become like trying to do the propaganda for the other side and your show becomes like preaching the audience, then that's also not what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. So, but how do you do that scene which flirts with the danger, which portrays those dark sides of life or those painful sides of life and just shows them, you know, just goes to the audience. This is a piece of reality. This is a piece of thing that happened. Mm-hmm. You decide if it's good or bad. And of course it's biased because we think it's bad. Of course our opinion is there, but at the same time, we're not, you know, we're not trying to educate you. We're trying to tell you how we see life, mm-hmm. what we think the absurdities of life are. If you think it's absurd too, think about it. If you don't, think about it even more. But yeah, but you know, so this is also a challenge for me and Zaki. Maybe not so much because we're not educators like that. But when people start to deal with those things, then this is also a challenge, not to be propaganding your side. Mm-hmm. But so these are like basically three things that we do. Mm-hmm. Allowing them to telling them how to do it believably and making sure that they're not doing propaganda.
Does it spread also on other stuff like, you know, gender or I don't know, nations, and, you know, not only politics itself as we just talked, but other.
Let's just make a little bit of a. I also changed the name of Plain Politics Workshop to The Time Is Now, because when we talk about politics, especially Zaki and I, is not what's the name of the Bulgarian Prime Minister right now. Okay, it's the politics of life. Mm-hmm. And under the politics of life, we also consider gender, We also consider social equality. We also and equality. We also consider racism and tension between nations and international affairs. So for us, it's or Fremdhassen. How do you say it? Hating the foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the politics of life. It's not the politics of politics, because it's for us not that interesting, so we don't know so much about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to show it to people because I think it's pretty important, and I don't think we have enough of these workshops worldwide, and these topics are coming and coming more and more strong, and they're important, and it's just good to learn how not to hurt people which are also watching, right? And
depends, hurt in what way?
yeah, I mean, like not making them yeah, art it can be uncomfortable, so of course we should as artists do that, but not doing like fun of it and making
Yes.
Feeling bad because we want to, as you said, point and to give them to think more than to educate in a way you should or you shouldn't do that, right?
Yeah, I think not to make them feel uncomfortable in a way that is like, what am I supposed to think about it? Is this, are they laughing with, or what's like, are they finding amusing? But make them feel uncomfortable, as theater, as you said, should. Yeah. You go to the theater and you go like, yeah, I want to go through something. I want to be evoked in a way. So this could be it. Not all the time.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean that improv has to like shift and this is all we do, like, but it could be something that we also do and something that we should do. I think it's a tool, right? It's a tool to speak our voice, especially now when we're like stuck at home and we read a lot, we consume a lot of information, everything is so confusing. Sometimes we would like to have our voice heard. We have some stuff we want to say and we want to say it, but we don't want to, no. I go like, this is how I see the world. This is the piece of reality I want to bring to you. This is my voice. Right?
Yeah, and I find this like pretty interesting because I saw once the show where the topic actually politics of life, not the politics of politics, came on the stage, and these young improvisers couldn't handle that, and it was too heavy. It became awkward and not nice for anybody who was watching it. So I think it's an important thing to learn where we go in that direction, or by coincidence we end up in that point, how to do it well, that we can just play it well, right?
Yes, and I think that a lot of, like, let's say that if there would be an improv group who will decide to do it, I think that they should take under consideration a long period of failing. And they should allow that to themselves, maybe to play to more friendly audience who would like to see them experiments and give the context of we're trying something and maybe it would be out of line and maybe we will make mistakes, because in order to find that as we call it, the right components for everything, you really need time in front of an audience and you really need to fail, which by the way is also improv overall. I think improvisation and stand-up comedy are two art forms that you cannot do good before you do bad. Nobody is born perfect in that. Nobody. It's something that you need to learn from your own personal experience, and only the failure will teach you. The failures will teach you the best, right? So also here, especially when you go into this unknown territory, try to fail. Take time to fail before you realize what's the right thing you should do. And it's hard to fail in front of an audience that doesn't have the right context for that. So it's a challenge, right?
Yeah. Great for the great answer, because I really think it's important part of our education in improv. And going now from duos to solo, you teach a solo workshop and you play solo, right?
Yeah, sometimes,
not always, of course. So tell me what brought you to solo work, like why you perform solo, and what also you learned from solo work, and what's important about that for you.
So I had a in Israel, I was doing quite a few solo shows which were scripted.
Uh-huh.
So I had a lot of background with solo shows, and also one of them was called The Woman I Could Have Been, and it was a one-woman play that I wrote to and ran in Tel Aviv for a few years. And so standing alone on the stage, doing like a few characters and stuff like that was not strange to me. And there was always this like, one day I'm going to have to do that also improvised, but the chance didn't come until one day. And me and Muli and our DJ Itush were invited to Leipzig to do our show Three Falling. And I was already in Leipzig, and they were supposed to fly in, and they missed their flight.
Oh.
They just went to the airport and realized that the flight was changed, and they didn't get any information about that. And she's like, they're not coming. And I remember Muli telling me it was like 4 a.m. or something. It was like in the phone, he was saying like, I think it's time to do that solo. And we called that show Three Falling, One Rising. And that was the first one. Oh. But again, it was scary, and I was nervous the whole day, trying to prepare, try to understand what kind of fragments I could use and what da-da-da. But having that background of the solo shows which were scripted, I felt very comfortable being alone on stage. So this for me was not an issue. It's just like, how do I make it happen, you know? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if it taught me anything, is that the audience needs time to go through things with you. And what it also taught me, and this is what I teach a lot in the solo workshop, is that the time when I, as an improviser, need to find out what would be my next step is the most interesting part of the show. So if I don't know where to go and I am trying to work my way forward, you know, I'm a little bit, you know, taking a breath or taking a pause or moving around, searching for the next thing, you know, trying to do something to evoke the next thing, or a little bit stuck, a little bit blocked, all those things. These are the magic moments of the show. As long as I don't freak out and go like, oh, fuck it, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I fucked it up. And then, you know, you're stuck in that thing. It would be super hard to get out of a feeling like that once you gave into that, because that's it. You're in the trap. You're in the loop. But understanding that, oh, something very authentic is happening right now, which if I stay committed to the search, die Suche, as we called it in the last workshop I was giving in Germany, the audience finds it fascinating. Mm-hmm. The audience wants to see me finding it out and finding it, you know? So these are very beautiful intimate moment, authentic moments, which are part of the show. They're not like, ooh, I need to think, brackets, pretend that I'm not here, I'm thinking, and then like, oh, I got it. It's like, no, I'm thinking with you while you're here.
Mm-hmm. So what's your trick, I don't know how to call it, which keeps you in this moment, in this situation, to not to allow yourself to go in the wrong way and freaking out?
The awareness, I think. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying, oh my God, I just do it like that. It never happens to me. Of course it happens to me, right? But the awareness of like, I don't know what to do. And then you need to train yourself in a way when this happens to breathe. Mm-hmm. Not to contract, not to go like, whoop, but to go like, and I have to admit, it's really hard because you go like, what's going to be the next thing? And I just, and you go like, and then you say to yourself, breathe. And you go like, I don't have time to breathe right now, right? There's an audience and I need to perform. You breathe. And so like, you're like, you don't have time for your own advices in that moment. But it's like, no, it's just like, okay, what's going to happen? 5 seconds. You're going to breathe for 5 seconds. You've ruined the tempo of the show? No. Mm-hmm. Expand, right? Don't contract. Mm-hmm. Which is good for every time you get blocked or whatever in improv.
Yeah. So what improvisers in general can take from solo work?
Yeah. The confident. Mm-hmm. The understanding that once, this is very important. When you are focused, you're interesting.
Mm-hmm. And being present at the same time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Focus is a very sexy thing. We are very attracted to focused people,
Mm-hmm.
usually. And I think that there's something magnifying, not magnifying.
Mesmerizing.
Yeah, like that you magnates you
Or maybe.
in focused people. So when it's on stage with a duo, you could be focused on your partner, on your mime job, on your scene, whatever. But when you're alone, you have to choose your focus, right? You have to choose to focus on something, including if it's I don't know where I'm going. It's okay. I'm focusing on that now. I'm present here now. I'm taking my time to stay focused and stay present. And then I think, yeah, once you're focused, you're 150% present, and you're enjoyable to watch, because then we get an experience, and to see you going through an experience is, I think, what we pay for as an audience, right? I also like to think about it like, in Star Trek, how when they're beam me up, so it's like they used to become a little like to fade away. So an improviser, when they're not focused, when I teach, I could see it very well. When they're not focused, I feel like they're fading away. It's like I can see through them, right? They became a little bit transparent. It's like their whole, how do you call it, cells, and their body is like dismantling. And then once they focus, it's like, you see the person again. Mm-hmm. It's like there's matter. And when they are not focused, the matter just like, they're like, So focus like, boom, keeps you, you are a matter. You're a substance. Mm-hmm. I think my English is not very well for the description I was trying to say, but I think it's clear.
It's really good. And, I think about my English as well, that it needs a lot of improvement. So actually, you're my first interviewee who is not native English speaker, which is also another, you're first from Middle East, and you're the first one who is not native speaker.
Nice.
But also this solo work, it brought me, I like this story that it was let's say outside push to it.
Yes.
I talked recently with Jill Bernard, and I will post today her interview online as well. And she said the same, that she had to go to Chicago Festival with friend, and she was asked to come alone, and she had to prepare the show.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Yeah. My lovely friend, I think we are getting to the end. So the very, very last question before ending is how you would summarize why you love improv.
Yeah. It's just something that combines, I think, 3 skills that I have into one. Mm-hmm. So the directing, the acting, and the writing is in one art form. Mm-hmm. And I could see why it could be also criticized, what I'm saying. Because you go like, you're not fully directing, you're not fully acting, and you're not fully writing. Because if you're doing the 3 of them at the same time, then you're not doing the 3 of them in the best way you can. And then in that way, maybe it's not the best quality of a product, but I think that having those things, having to do those 3 things in real time, in the moment, is for me a very big pleasure. Mm-hmm. Personal pleasure. Like I could feel my brain going like, I'm enjoying this so much. This is good. When it's good, when it's bad, and sometimes it's bad, it's pain and torture. But when it's good, when it works, when all those 3 things are working together, and when is the right beat for what, and what should come now, and what's needed, and you could see it from the inside out, and it's like, then it's like a very good meditation. A very good improv show is a very good meditation, because you're like away from yourself for such a long time, focusing on something so dynamic and beautiful. It's like coming back from a nice trip.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes psychedelic trip. Could also feel like.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was such a lovely talk. And
It was.
again, I got to know you as a person and improviser much more. And I hope that people watching this will also get a lot of this great stuff you told and stories you said. And I will get to know you better. And invite you as a teacher, of course.
And invite me. Online or with an airplane.
Yeah, both possible. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you so much. And it was such a lovely talk. And I hope to see you soon in person, not only online.
Fuck yeah, Monica, we have to see each other, right? This thing needs to end.
Yeah, but actually we are that close that that's pretty possible without flying still.
True. That's true. All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And would you like to play a scene with me?
Yes.
Great. I'm very excited because we never played before.
No?
No.
Oh, really? I thought we did.
No.
Okay.
We didn't.
Okay, then let's celebrate this first time.
Yes.
Should I suggest something?
Yes, please.
Cool. So I talked about Rod Ben Zeev before. He's an Israeli-American improviser living in Amsterdam. Great guy, great friend. And he introduced me to this exercise. It's like, we're going to play a scene and we're going to have an action that we do during the scene. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk in short sentences, more or less, most of the time. But we have to incorporate at least one word from our partner's sentence in our sentence. Mm-hmm. It could be whatever word we want in whatever order we want, but at least one.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Makes sense.
And I thought maybe we could use the fact that it's Zoom. Maybe it's like two friends or something meeting on Zoom. You can choose the relationship if you like.
Yeah, friends is okay, I think.
Friends who meet on Zoom.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, great. It's really nice to see you.
You are the one I was waiting really long to meet.
So long. I waited so long to meet you.
Meeting you on Zoom, it feels a bit...
it feels a bit
strange.
It feels a bit strange, right? It feels so strange. But still, I want to say that I'm happy to meet you at Zoom than not to meet you at all. Because I missed you.
I missed you too. And I just found out that we always met in person. And this first time is really, for me, weird.
Yes, but you know, I think about the weird. These are weird times.
Weird times and...
Weird times and confusing.
Challenging and confusing.
Challenging and confusing. I mean, I'm challenging. You know, I'm challenged all the time. Are you?
I am challenged, and I wanted to ask you that as soon as possible, I would like to meet you in person.
Do you think that meeting me in person is going to help you deal with your challengers?
Challengers? You see, it's always fun with you.
It's always fun with you.
With you.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. We have to meet because it will help us to handle the challenges, right? Of these confusing times.
Yeah. It will help me with these confusing times, and they need to end.
They need to end because we had enough. But you know, I am happy about one thing from those confusing times.
Which one thing?
There's one thing that kind of made it very clear to me what's important in life.
To me, important in life are friends.
To me, important in life are definitely friends.
And definitely, you are one of my best ever. So you're my best friend.
And I always knew that you were my best friend, but now I feel that I need you in my life, you know?
I need you in my life too.
So, not everything is confusing and bad. Some things became clearer. We need each other.
Each other, I'm so happy. Thank you.
A scene.